back. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.
We are back. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650, joined by the good people from Philips Lifeline, Canada's #1 medical alert service. And we are now joined on the phone by a very important member of the Philips Lifeline team, Seamus Parker, as a frontline senior personnel response associate. Seamus, welcome to the show. Tell us about your background and what you do now at Philips Lifeline.
Great. Well, George, thank you very much for having me. I've been at Philips Lifeline for 3 years as a personal response associate. I've been loving it ever since. Outside of here, I volunteer. I've always worked in customer service, though.
Well, working for customers is one thing. Providing the kind of service, the Lifeline, which hence the name, must be very important. Tell us about the culture of caring at Philips.
Yes, I'd certainly agree that our culture is all about care. One of our priorities in my position is ensuring that our subscribers know that we care about their needs as soon as we speak with them. Whether we're addressing an urgent medical need or even responding to a general inquiry about their Lifeline service, we make an effort to really make them feel the care that we have towards them and their needs.
Now, it's a big responsibility. Tell us more about your training.
Yes, it is a lot of responsibility, but we are provided upon entering. We're given 3 weeks of full-time in-class training, followed by 3 weeks of alarm response with close supervision with colleagues as well as members of our leadership and training program. And it's really successful in preparing us and our operators for the realities of this position. Our shifts operate as teams, so there's always somebody right there to give us learning experiences from their own experiences and sharing our own experiences with them. It's a really good learning environment.
Now, I know that you told me just before we started the show that your other passion is musician, which is music is the great connector for everybody in life. Is that what has helped you in understanding and being able to empathize with somebody at the other end of the phone who could be a generation, possibly 2 generations older than you were?
You know, there's a lot that allows me to connect. I have grandparents myself. I have parents myself. And we really just are encouraged to be empathetic to the needs. It's a really personal moment when someone shares their emergency with us. So we really use that to connect with our subscribers, and yeah, it's just something that's ingrained in our culture here at Lifeline.
Well, you can read the words in a book, you can listen to the instructions in a classroom or from a supervisor, but unless you feel it, I would think it's pretty tough to understand until perhaps maybe you deal with the first call or you're on the phone and you've made a difference for somebody. Have you got some experiences that you could share with us about some of the people that you've talked to and for whom it's made a big difference?
Well, one instance that does come to mind, it's actually one of the earlier alarms that I ever received from a subscriber, where she pushed her help button and told me that she had accidentally activated and reassured me that she was okay. But I noticed she had a history of stroke and she seemed to be having difficulty understanding me. Her speech was a bit slurred, so I asked some questions, asked if she was feeling anything out of the normal, and she advised me that she had been recently feeling unwell. I was still feeling very uneasy, so after ending the call, I had called a family member just to check on her family member, and within a few moments of arriving, that is, the family member had actually activated the Lifeline requesting an ambulance, and that subscriber was ultimately transported to hospital exhibiting symptoms of a stroke. So that example in itself, I mean, we're really required to use our own personal connection with our subscribers, and if we're not feeling, good about something, it's up to us really to make sure that we're not leaving any stone unturned.
So you need a bit of intuition in this, and I guess some of that comes with experience. But as you say, you've got grandparents, and I suppose you have witnessed firsthand as they get a little bit older, perhaps they're reluctant to make change or to get involved with something like this. Have you taken it upon yourself to convince them or somebody else perhaps that they need this service?
I haven't actually directly approached them. Only my mother. I wouldn't dare go to my grandparents just yet and offer them a lifeline. But I do think that they'd be open to it. I think a lot of people are really learning that Lifeline isn't designed to take away your independence. It's something that's designed to lengthen the amount of time you can be independent. It lets you live alone, but also allows your family, and their family that is, to know that they will always be able to acquire assistance. So luckily there hasn't been much reluctance in my family for the Lifeline. I know that isn't the case with everyone.
Certainly. Well, you're in Toronto, and Toronto, very much like Vancouver, and yes, there are similarities. I know people in Vancouver don't want to hear that, and people in Toronto don't want to be compared to Vancouver, but we're a cosmopolitan city. So you would deal with a great number of cultures and perhaps languages. Or do any of these become a barrier for you?
We do our very best to minimize that barrier. We have operators inside of our office who are able to speak multiple languages. We have a French response center for a lot of our Quebecers who use the service. We have Cantonese operators within our office, and if we are getting into languages that are a bit harder to find a staff member to speak them, we have access to a 24-hour interpreter service. Upon receiving the alarm, we have notification that they will require an interpreter, and we can very promptly connect them with someone who can facilitate a conversation between our response center and the subscriber.
I would think that's critical in this day and age, because you have to be able to serve all people. Have you ever had a circumstance where perhaps you've had to hand off a call?
Yes, indeed. On a daily basis, I am receiving an alarm. Whichever operator is available first gets the alarm first. If it's a language that we have in our office, for instance, Cantonese, we have a lot of Cantonese-speaking subscribers and Mandarin-speaking subscribers, and it's a seamless process we have. I'll hand it off to my cubicle neighbor who does speak Cantonese fluently and can provide that assistance. Same with French. If I get an alarm where somebody's having difficulty speaking to me in English and would be better off speaking to a French operator, we can very quickly transfer them off to another member of our staff who can assist them in their language.
Perhaps, Seamus, you could tell me about the concept of closed loop with your call response. Can you explain that for us?
Well, closed-loop protocol is something that we implement with every alarm that we receive as a personal response associate. And basically, it's just that we're doing everything to resolve our subscribers' issue and achieve an outcome. Whether it's an emergency alarm and we need to determine if they have been transported to hospital, or if they've received their assistance from their neighbor or family or their caregiver. Whatever it is, a closed-loop protocol is our way of ensuring that no stone is left unturned. By the end of our call, all family are made aware of an emergency, or even all questions have been answered for our subscriber if that's the nature of their call.
Boy, this certainly sounds like an extension of a little bit earlier where we're talking about if somebody's in distress and they're on the line with somebody, that person stays with them. They're talking to them, keeping them calm, reminding them that help is on the way. And what you're talking about then is it's almost like you're my buddy, you're my pal through this thing, and I'm going to make sure that you get the help that you need.
Exactly. I'm going to see this through for you. Yeah.
So you talked about you've been in customer service and that's sort of been your calling, but what drew you to Lifeline?
Well, what drew me, I suppose, to Lifeline is that I've always loved to help. I was raised in a family where I was encouraged to volunteer from a very young age, and when I saw an opportunity to work for an organization whose sole mission statement is to help Canada's senior community, I couldn't think of any opportunity that I'd want more. It's something everybody can relate to, more or less anybody, that we have neighbors who need help, and to do that for my 9-to-5 job, if you will, it was a bit of a dream come true.
Well, dreams that come true and become a life calling that's a good thing. What's the best part of your job?
That's pretty tough, but I guess I'd have to say it's the people. Not only the people that I work with, my colleagues, but I really am privileged to work for subscribers who really inspire me every day. They remind me that, our seniors are strong people. Whether, as Tracy had mentioned earlier, that the majority of our button pushes are not emergencies. We get to connect with our subscribers, and you hear of people well into their golden years who are still out hiking. I know in Vancouver plenty of trails, and they're very widely used by many of our subscribers. So it would be the subscribers I work for on a day-to-day basis. They're inspiring.
Good stuff. Oh, and of course, just one more point. There is a difference between Vancouver and Toronto. Our mountains are real mountains that have snow at the top, and they're very nice.
But our hills are beautiful.
All right. I will give you that. We've been talking to Seamus Parker, who does some incredible work for Philips Lifeline Medical Alert Service, and we're going to come back, talk more about how you can get the service, some of the costs involved. That's all coming up next on CIL 650. This is Boomer Life.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.